Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, complaints of sexual harassment filed against a local apartment complex company in central Kentucky. We look at what they're accused of doing. And President Biden wants to bring sweeping reforms to the U.S. Supreme Court. More about the proposals and the likely pushback from Congress.
And live pinpoint Doppler radar right now is getting a little bit of a break, but we're not out of the woods yet, and I'll tell you why coming up in just a few minutes.
Dedicated to Southern and Eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
It's going to be a very active week of weather with rounds of showers and storms, and due to the threat of more heavy rain, it's a first alert weather day. Meteorologist Eric Dean has the latest forecast. Eric.
All right, good afternoon, Steve. Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, that's right. We do have that line of showers and thunderstorms that's pushed through eastern Kentucky, but we're not out of the woods yet. Take a look here at some rainfall totals as of today. And here's the thing about this map. Not everybody sends rainfall totals, so we'll have to kind of do some research and figure out exactly who's seen what, and we'll have those tonight at 11. But I can give you a general idea as to who's seen what so far today. Half inch over towards Jackson, a quarter of an inch towards Prestonsburg, 1,907 inch towards Harlan, then 907 inch towards Somerset. You see the areas that we have in purple and red. That's where some places have seen as much as 1 to 2 inches of rain. That was picked up by Doppler radar. So take a look here at live pinpoint Doppler radar. All is quiet across the area as of right now. Back to the west of us, there is another round of showers and thunderstorms that will push through throughout the overnight hours. If you're in Lee County in Virginia, you are still under a flood advisory until 7 o'clock this evening. Again, Lee County in Virginia, flood advisory until 7 o'clock this evening. So let's go zone by zone really quick. We'll see temperatures in the upper 60s and low 70s across the Cumberland Valley. Same story for the Kentucky River Valley, low 70s towards Campton as well as Irvin. And then over towards the Big Sandy Valley, 71 in Moorhead, otherwise upper 60s from Sandy Hook down to Clintwood. I'll have your complete first alert forecast in a few minutes. Steve.
All right, Eric, thank you. Flash flooding has certainly affected parts of East Tennessee. Take a look at this video from yesterday in Dollywood in Sevier County, Tennessee. One injury was reported there. Just some incredible video out of Dollywood. The flooding also shut down a portion of Veterans Boulevard. The National Weather Service had issued a flash flood warning for that area yesterday, which expired late last night. We are told Dollywood reopened earlier today. Police in Wayne County, West Virginia have released the name of the woman who died in a house fire last week. 89-year-old Constance Connie Stewart was pronounced dead in the 1700 block of Poplar Street in the Canova area. That fire started around 3 a.m. last Friday. No word on the cause. A central Kentucky woman says she was the victim of severe sexual harassment and threats while she worked for an apartment complex. She's filed a federal lawsuit against the company that owns the Stanford Affordable Housing Unit. The U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission is also involved in the lawsuit and complaint. WYMT's Phil Pendleton has more on what the victim is claiming in the suit.
The 9-page lawsuit claims that Oakview Apartments, based here in Stanford, has been involved in unlawful practices since October of 2022. The victim says that she had to quit her job because the sexual advancements became so severe that she was also in fear for her life. The U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission is alleging federal law was broken because the former Oakview Apartments site manager claims that she was sexually harassed multiple times after she was hired in April 2022. She claims she was propositioned for sex, was asked about her sexual activity, among numerous other allegations. And according to the lawsuit filed in U.S. District Court, the victim's harasser also made her feel physically intimidated and threatened her by telling her that he kept a gun in his truck and that he watched her, coupled with repeatedly coming to the victim's office where she worked alone, to linger close to her, putting her in fear of her personal safety. The victim stated that she was forced to work with the harasser and that the victim's harasser emphasized the presence of his gun, telling the victim that if needed, he would use a silencer on his gun so that she would not see him coming. The victim also said that tenants complained about this person and no actions were taken against him. She eventually quit her position in January of last year, about 10 months after being hired. after she says the harassment continued and worsened. The victim says that gym management did grant some of her requests, but quickly reversed course, and she was forced to work alongside him once again. She said she also later learned that her direct supervisor was actually related to this man. Lincoln County, Phil Pendleton, now back to you.
The victim is seeking a trial by jury and compensation for loss of past and future income. We now know which lawmakers will serve on a bipartisan task force investigating the attempted assassination of former President Trump. The GOP members will be Congressman Mark Green, David Joyce, Laurel Lee, Michael Waltz, Clay Higgins, Pat Fallon, and Mike Kelly as chairman. The Democratic members will be Jason Crow, Lou Correa, Madeline Dean, Chrissy Houlihan, Glenn Ivey, and Jared Moskowitz. Former President Trump has agreed to a victim interview in the FBI's investigation into this month's attempted assassination. Kevin Rojic, the special agent in charge of the agency's Pittsburgh field office, and FBI investigators want to get Trump's perspective on what he saw, just like any other witness to the crime. The agency is focusing its efforts on finding the motive of the 20-year-old would-be assassin, Thomas Matthew Crooks. Former President Donald Trump's legal team has until Friday to respond on the potential impact of the U.S. Supreme Court's decision on immunity. That's according to a source familiar with the matter. Trump's lawyers requested permission from the judge to respond to the Manhattan DA's office being opposed to their motion for a vacated verdict and an indictment dismissal. President Biden has unveiled a trio of proposals that would change the way the U.S. Supreme Court works, including who can sit on the bench and for how long. CBS's Skylar Henry has more from the White House.
President Biden unveiled plans Monday to dramatically change the way the Supreme Court operates. Biden is calling for stripping away lifetime appointments and enacting an 18-year term limit for the justices. That would set up a system where new justice would be needed every 2 years.
They have no desire to make the court better. They're just trying to make it more liberal.
President Biden also wants Congress to pass a tough new code of ethics requiring the disclosure of all major gifts and the justices to recuse themselves if they or their families are involved in the case.
The idea that wealthy individuals, many of them right-wing, can both pay for cases before the court and at the same time give justices gifts or trips is outrageous.
Neither proposal currently stands any chance of passing the Republican-controlled House or narrowly divided Senate.
The liberals in this country want to pack the court. They want to destroy the court. So their initiatives coming from Biden will be dead on arrival in the Senate.
President Biden is also calling on Congress to ratify a constitutional amendment prohibiting blanket immunity for presidents. It comes in response to the court ruling that former President Trump is largely immune from prosecution for his acts in office. While the White House isn't expecting to secure a new amendment on this politically charged issue, it hopes the conversation will energize Democratic voters.
A lot of this is, frankly, a reaction to Supreme Court decisions and behavior by some of the justices that are unpopular among Democrats.
Trump came out against the proposal, saying Biden is trying to destroy the Supreme Court. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
To pass a constitutional amendment, you need either 2/3 support in both the House and Senate or a constitutional convention with 2/3 of the states and then approval by 3/4 of state legislatures. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell responded to President Biden's proposal for Supreme Court reform. Senator McConnell said in part today, quote, "The Biden-Harris Justice Department took an extreme position in the prosecution of their electoral opponent, and they lost. Rather than accepting that they lost, the Biden-Harris administration has responded with a full-scale attack on the justices who ruled against them." The trial of a former Colorado County clerk is slated to begin this week. Today, the Supreme Court denied Tina Peters' request to halt the case. Peters is facing 10 charges related to an apparent security breach of election machines in May of 2021. That resulted in a breach of voting machine logins and images of hard drives in Mesa County. A channel on the messaging platform Telegram associated with QAnon then published those files. The Biden administration has announced a new aid package for Ukraine, totaling about $1.7 billion. The package largely consists of missiles and ammunition for missile, artillery, and air defense systems the U.S. previously provided to Ukraine. According to the Defense Department, the U.S. is committing $1.5 billion in new weapons and equipment through the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative. The wife of the late Secretary of State Colin Powell has died. Alma Johnson Powell was the chair emeritus of America's Promise Alliance, a nonprofit founded by her husband to help at-risk youth. She served on the board of trustees of the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts and on President Barack Obama's board of advisors on historically black colleges and universities. Alma Johnson Powell was 86 years old. Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, it is not a secret college is expensive and many need help paying for it. How to find last-minute financial aid.
And we are starting to get some rainfall totals into the First Alert Weather Center. We'll talk about that coming up in just a few minutes. Stay with us.